Another European night comes and goes for Rangers, and it is impossible to ignore the frustration that continues to hang over this Europa League campaign. The defeat away to Porto only adds to a run that never truly caught fire, and for many supporters, it feels like a story of missed chances rather than a simple lack of quality. There is a sense that this season in Europe slipped away earlier than it should have, not because of one result, but because of decisions that were allowed to linger for too long. It is difficult to place the blame on the current situation alone when so many feel that a change in direction a month earlier could have altered the entire trajectory. That is not rewriting history. It is acknowledging how fine the margins can be at this level. At the same time, perspective matters, and that is something worth holding onto amid the noise. Porto are not some ordinary opponent caught on a bad night. They are a side sitting at the top of their domestic league, full of confidence, balance, and European experience. When you look at the wider picture in Portugal, where even a manager of the stature of Jose Mourinho has yet to taste defeat since taking over at Benfica, and Porto still find themselves clear at the summit by a healthy margin, it tells you everything about the level Rangers were up against. This was always going to be a severe test, and while the result hurts, it is not one that should trigger panic or reckless conclusions. What does sting for Rangers fans is the comparison game that inevitably follows. Across the city, there will be plenty of noise and bravado, talk of flying flags and representing the nation on the European stage. Many supporters simply are not buying into that narrative. Football fans see through empty slogans, and there is a belief that those voices will be found out sooner rather than later when faced with genuine elite opposition. Rangers, for all their struggles this season, have recent European memories that should not be erased so easily. Finishing among the top 8 in an exceptionally demanding group last year was no small achievement, and it showed what this club can do when things are aligned properly. Now, though, attention naturally shifts forward because dwelling on what might have been does nothing to fix what lies ahead. One issue has become painfully obvious to anyone watching Rangers week after week, whether in Europe or domestically. This squad needs a striker. Not in theory, not as a luxury, but as a clear and urgent necessity. The lack of cutting edge, the absence of a consistent focal point in the final third has defined too many performances. That reality is now driving the conversation as the transfer window edges toward its conclusion, and it explains why the club's recruitment team have been so active in recent days. The name at the center of that pursuit has been Ryan Nadier, a young forward who has emerged as a priority target. Rangers have gone back to the table with an improved offer, restructuring their proposal in an effort to find common ground. The latest bid, understood to be worth €3.6 million guaranteed, with achievable bonuses and a sell-on clause included, shows clear intent. This is not a token gesture. It is a serious attempt to secure a player the club believes can grow into the role and make an impact. Yet, despite that, his current club have continued to knock back the advances, leaving the situation frustratingly unresolved. From the outside, it is easy to understand why this drags on tempers. Nadier himself is reportedly ready to commit to the move, even prepared to remain where he is until the summer before making the switch to Glasgow. At 22 years of age, he wants clarity on his future, and that is hardly an unreasonable request. When negotiations stall without a clear valuation being communicated, it can feel as though a player is being held in limbo. Clubs are entitled to protect their assets and demand fair value, but there is a fine line between firm negotiation and unnecessary obstruction. For Rangers, patience has its limits, especially with the window clock ticking down. The club are already lining up alternatives should this deal finally collapse. And that brings another intriguing name into the frame. Joel Piro of Leeds United has become an increasingly prominent option, particularly as the final hours of the winter window come into view. His situation is layered and complex, shaped not just by footballing considerations, but by ownership structures that connect both clubs in unusual ways. That connection has fueled speculation throughout January and kept Rangers firmly in the conversation whenever his name resurfaces. Piro's profile is well known. At 26 years old, he brings a level of experience that contrasts with the youth of Nadier. His time in the Premier League has been limited in terms of minutes, but not in terms of learning curve. 10 appearances in the league this season tell only part of the story, especially when only 2 have come from the start, and his total time on the pitch barely creeps beyond 200 minutes. Those numbers explain why questions are being asked about his future, even as he remains publicly confident in his ability to fight for a regular role. That confidence is key to understanding his stance. Piro is not actively pushing for a move. He believes in his quality and recognizes how quickly circumstances can change in a long, demanding season. One injury, one shift in form, and the hierarchy within a squad can be rewritten overnight. From Leeds' perspective, that makes any decision delicate. Allowing him to leave, even temporarily, carries its own risks, especially if they believe he could yet play a part in their campaign. For Rangers, however, the appeal is obvious. A short-term loan, if it could be agreed, would provide immediate depth and a different option in attack at a crucial stage of the season. It would not solve every problem overnight, but it could offer breathing space and experience when margins are tight. The influence of shared ownership figures hovering over both clubs adds another layer of intrigue, raising the possibility that a deal could be facilitated if all parties see benefit in it. As things stand, Rangers remain determined to bring in attacking reinforcement before the window slams shut. Whether that comes in the form of Nadier, Piro, or another late twist altogether, the need is undeniable. The coming hours promise movement, tension, and finally, answers as the club looks to turn a season of frustration into one with renewed momentum. As the deadline draws ever closer, the atmosphere around Ibrox becomes heavier with expectation, because this is the moment when talk must finally turn into action. Rangers know they cannot afford to drift through the final hours of the window hoping something falls into place. The sense inside the club is that decisive movement is required, not only to address immediate needs, but also to send a message to the squad and the supporters that lessons have been learned from recent missteps. European disappointment has sharpened that urgency, turning the search for a striker into the defining storyline of this period. Behind the scenes, the recruitment department has been juggling multiple scenarios, aware that transfer negotiations rarely follow a straight line. The Ryan Nadier situation remains unresolved, and while optimism has not completely disappeared, realism has begun to creep in. Each rejected bid forces Rangers to reassess how far they are willing to go, both financially and strategically. The inclusion of bonuses and a future sell on percentage shows an understanding of modern deal-making, yet there is a growing feeling that the selling club must eventually reveal their true expectations. Until that happens, Rangers are left operating in the dark, balancing ambition against practicality. That uncertainty is precisely why the focus has widened. Joel Piro's name continues to circulate, not as a fallback born of panic, but as a calculated alternative with its own appeal. His situation at Leeds United is finely poised, shaped by limited opportunities, but also by genuine belief in his own ability. For Rangers, that mindset can be both a strength and a risk. On one hand, a player confident enough to back himself brings hunger and determination. On the other, there is always the question of how quickly he would adapt to the demands and intensity of Scottish football, where patience is rarely afforded to forwards. The unusual ownership links between the clubs have added a layer of intrigue that keeps this story alive. While no deal is ever guaranteed by shared interests alone, the possibility of smoother dialogue remains a factor that cannot be ignored. In a window where time is the most precious commodity, any element that reduces friction could prove decisive. Rangers are well aware that if Leeds choose to sanction even a temporary move, they are likely to be at the front of the queue, ready to act without hesitation. Still, the player's own position complicates matters. Piro has made it clear that he is not desperate to leave, and that belief shapes the negotiations. From his perspective, staying put offers the chance to fight for a place in one of the most competitive leagues in the world. That ambition is understandable, and it speaks to a confidence forged through years of working his way up. Yet football careers are defined by timing as much as talent, and a move to Glasgow could offer him something different: regular football responsibility and the chance to be a central figure rather than a peripheral one. For Rangers supporters, the debate goes beyond individual names. It touches on a broader frustration with how previous windows have unfolded. There is a feeling that the club cannot afford another period of half measures or delayed decisions. The squad has shown resilience, but it has also shown clear limitations, particularly when asked to break down organized defenses or chase games against quality opposition. A striker is not a magic solution, but it is a necessary step toward restoring balance and belief. The management team understands this scrutiny. Every move, or lack of one, will be dissected in the days and weeks that follow. Success will be measured not just by who arrives, but by how quickly they can contribute. That pressure is amplified by the reality of domestic competition, where dropped points carry heavy consequences and momentum can swing rapidly. Rangers cannot afford to let this window close without strengthening, especially after a European campaign that has left supporters craving a response. What remains clear is that the next phase of the season will look very different depending on the outcome of these negotiations. Securing a forward could inject fresh energy into the dressing room and alter the dynamic of upcoming matches. Failing to do so would place even greater strain on the existing options, asking them to shoulder a burden they have already struggled to carry consistently. The stakes are high, and everyone involved knows it. As the hours tick away, the sense of anticipation only grows. Phones stay close, conversations continue late into the night, and scenarios are constantly reassessed. Whether Rangers manage to land their primary target, pivot successfully to an alternative, or pull off an unexpected late move, the direction of the season hangs in the balance. For now, all eyes remain fixed on the final moments of the window, where clarity is promised and decisions will finally shape what comes next. Beyond the immediate focus on recruitment, there is also a wider conversation happening about identity and direction. Rangers are in a phase where supporters are not just like asking who arrives, but why certain profiles are being targeted and how they fit into a longer-term vision. The feeling among the fan base is that this window represents more than a quick fix. It is a test of whether the club can align short-term needs with a clearer footballing philosophy. After months of inconsistency, clarity has become almost as important as quality, and any addition will be judged through that lens. Inside the squad, players are fully aware of the noise swirling around them. Forwards, already at the club, know competition is coming, and that knowledge can sharpen performances or expose fragility. Training ground intensity tends to rise in moments like this as individuals fight to prove they deserve their place. At the same time, uncertainty can weigh heavily, particularly when results have not matched expectations. How the group responds mentally in this period could be just as influential as any signing made before the deadline. All of this unfolds against a backdrop of fixtures that leave little room for hesitation. Rangers face a run where momentum must be built quickly, and any delay in addressing weaknesses risks compounding existing problems, and the margin for error is thin, and patience among supporters is even thinner. As the window edges toward its final moments, the club stands at a crossroads, knowing that the decisions taken now will echo through the remainder of the campaign and shape the narrative that follows on and off the pitch. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The noise-ruined Ibrox is getting louder, and this time it's nae just the fans muttering in the stands or on the street corners of Govan. Chris Sutton has lit the blue touch paper we acclaim that's causing jaws to drop across Scottish football. In his view, the Rangers gaffer, Danny Roehl, has managed in a matter of months to tear doing structures that, according to the insiders, took years to set in place. It's a brutal assessment, and yin that's spreading like wildfire. Sutton's words are being treated as a cool-headed analysis, but as a warning, a rumor or a club slipping fast. He's said to believe that Roehl's methods, his man management, and his tactical gambles have left the squad looking lost, uncertain, and distant from the identity that once defined Rangers. In private conversations, former players and folk close to the dressing room whisper that standards have slipped. Confidence is brittle, and the jersey feels heavier why every appearance. The most damaging line attributed to Sutton is the yin that'll sting the longest, that this could be the worst Rangers side in the club's long and proud history. It's a massive statement, maybe exaggerated, maybe born of frustration, but it's no being dismissed out o' hand. Supporters are speculating about whether the rebuild promised at the start of Roehl's reign ever truly began, or if it stalled before it could take shape. There's nae hard proof laid out, nae single moment to pin the blame on, but the sense adrift is the fuel o' the rumour mill. Some say the board are uneasy, others insist they're still back in the gaffer, while a few claim change is already being quietly discussed. In Scottish football, perception often becomes reality, and right now the perception is grim. Whether Sutton's demolition job is fair or no, it's added to a growing belief that Rangers are at a crossroads. If the whispers are to be believed, the club is staring at a period of deep soul-searching, wondering how a project meant to restore pride has instead sparked talk, a decline, doubt, and a fear that the foundations might be shakier than anybody first thought. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.